Welcome, friends, back to Pour It On, a podcast about male friendship, life's challenges, and making the most of our time here. When the chaos of life makes you want to bottle it up, don't do that. Grab your drink of choice, enjoy the moment with us, and let's pour it on together. I am Ben Feller. I am batting leadoff tonight with my friends Shaun and Chris. I am a father and a communicator based in New York City, the author of a children's book, and damn excited to be getting into some real issues here with my friends. And so, Chris, there is a heated debate in baseball about whether the best hitter on the team bats second or third. And I don't really know. I'm going to go with second for tonight and kick it to you. Say hello.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the best hitter goes second. So, Shaun, how are you?
Curveball. Yeah, it's like, wait, Ben was being nice. What do I do with this?
It's a change up of sorts. Chris Lozier checking in here from Chicago, where I too am a father of two awesome daughters, and as of recently, soon to be interim CEO of NAMI Chicago, where I'm really happy to be working on mental health issues in my great city, the Windy City. So, last night you gave me grief, Ben, because I was drinking an Egyptian licorice tea, and you acted like you didn't know what that was. Tonight, I decided to pull up a half-acre lager. It's called the Reef Knot. So, enjoying that while I spend time with you guys.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've got a Montauk, I was in Montauk, New York, beach break, and I didn't know what it was, but you've simplified it for me because you brought it back down to my level, and you said, "Here, Ben, beer," and now I'm back on the level with you. Shaun, what are you drinking, and how are you doing?
Hi, guys. I am drinking Pellegrino as I continue my cleanse. While Chris whines about, being second or third or whatever, I'm just happy to be in the lineup. So
same.
I'm just lucky to be in the lineup with you guys. Such great hitters, big hitters that the two of you are. That didn't sound too sarcastic, did it?
It sounded like sickeningly sarcastic. Yeah.
Shaun Emerson, husband, father, entrepreneur, lover of all beings, loving that we're back together. Our guests might not know this, but we recorded last night, and so I get to see you guys 2 days in a row.
Fantastic.
Lucky me.
Fantastic. And Chris, congratulations again on your new job and your commitment to working on issues of mental health. That is a big undercurrent of this discussion that we have. And so I really wanted to frame this conversation about something I've been thinking about a lot generally, but specifically lately. And that is the word and the idea expectations. And I find that my days are framed by expectations from the very second I wake up. I mean, before anything, it is like a force of what do I need to do to be successful? And so I'd love to just start by hearing from both of you what your expectations are as men for yourself at this stage of life. And Shaun, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So the way you frame the question, I had a conversation earlier today with a woman who was talking about her 24-year-old son, and he was talking about wanting to be emotional. How can I be emotional with his partner? And as a man, and it just hit me. I don't often think about who I am as a man. Like, that's my sex, but it's not like framing it in a way where I'm like, okay, all those issues around protector or provider or all those conditionings that we grow up with. So your point about expectation as a man, it just hit me based on that earlier conversation. I think expectation for me is a little bit incongruent with the idea of living in the moment, and so, um, uh, you know, I think, again, I kid about lover all beings, but I think I have an expectation for myself that when I wake up in the morning, that's what I'm going forward with, to the best of my ability. Um, and lastly, in this opening, expectations can be often about other people, right? And what expectations does others have for me? And I get that people would. I mean, I have a wife and kids and people that I do work with. But I think communication is so essential in squaring away those expectations, if you will. And if their expectations of me are out of sync with who I am, then certainly there's probably more communication that are required. So,
yeah. Well, I want to dig into the expectations of others things at some length too, because that's also a big part of what I've been thinking about. But and Shaun, I think I probably am intentionally combining expectations of yourself as a question and as a man, the way I framed it, because of this unique thing that we're doing of talking not just as humans, but as men, right? And I think that there's layers to it. I'm not even sure I think about it that way that much, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are my expectations as a man? But I do think that it's worth leaning into that a little bit, because I think there are some invisible things that come up that we are supposed to do, or we think we're supposed to do because of the gender that we have,
Absolutely. And certainly I think there are others that have expectations of us because of that. And probably many guys that are listening to this have expectations of themselves because of that conditioning. And they may not, and those things may not be consistent with who they are, which brings up a lot of shit, right? I mean, it's like, okay, how do I be who I am, not what society or culture kind of told me to be or expects me to be, because it's not who I am.
Who they are. Yeah, for sure. What are you thinking, Chris?
Thinking a lot of things. You're making me think really hard, Ben. I mean, on the one hand, I think all of us have sort of a type A streak in us. And I think a lot of times people are like, expectations, doesn't that mean key performance indicators? Like, is it KPIs? Like, what am I going to get done? Right. It also makes me think about, I don't know if I've told you guys this story before, but I've shared it with a few people even recently, where when I was a young parent with little kids, I laugh about this now, but it was like Manish and I would see Anna do something or say something, and we'd be like, oh my God, did you see that? I think she might be gifted. I think she's probably going to ace the SATs and she'll probably go Ivy League and maybe Supreme Court. I'm not sure what, but it's going to be. And then I grew older. I grew older and wiser and got to the point where, because that's an expectation, right? Like expectations and hopes are closely aligned, I think. And I got older and I'm like, you know what I really want? I want to raise two girls who grow up to be kind, empathetic, compassionate people. But I do want to share this one story. Shaun, I don't know if you remember this, but Ben, I had a college professor who was a priest, and he gave one of those last lectures where he pretends he's going to be hanged in the morning. And he paraphrased the end of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, where Chaucer says, if I have done any of you any good, I ask you to credit it to God. And if I've done any of you any harm, I ask you to credit it to my lack of ability and not my lack of will, for I surely would have done better if I could. So I when I really drill down, I think my expectations are, quote a movie, seize the day or live in the moment or make the most of whatever short blink of an eye we have on this planet. And hopefully people will have appreciated the fact that I was around. So it's very meta, and it may be a cop out, but that's what it makes me think of.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I didn't know that, Chris, and so that's a good framing for me. I think I knew it a little bit more with Shaun because of the way that you convey a in the moment lightness to how you talk about things that that I have envied. And, I have not gotten to the kind of go with the flow, live in the moment, float mentality. Not saying that you're doing all those things, but that kind of construct. I can't get there. And part of it is because in a very practical sense, like I need to get these things done every single day. And there's very little margin. If I sit and read something or scroll on Instagram for 9 minutes, that's a luxury. And so floating doesn't seem doable. But also I think it's because something we were talking about earlier, expectations for myself. And I feel like I don't know. I have like a running to-do list all the time. And it is not how I always was. Driven, yes. But I did not view waking up in the morning and thinking about the number of things that I could get done. And based on that, today was a success or a failure. It's the kind of thing that like no mental health professional would suggest that you do. And so part of the problem with the expectations is that it's a wrong way of living, I think. And you can say, you live however you want. I'm like, no, I'm doing it. And I'm saying, how do I tailor these expectations to something that is more kind, that is more reasonable, and that the things that don't get done, I'm like, yeah, so what? Like, let's look at the things I did get done. And I need I wanted your thoughts on this for this episode because I'm not necessarily getting better at it. And over time, what happens is the number of things I actually am getting done are becoming increasingly invisible to me.
Do you know, I mean, you made the point about you've always been driven, and then, it took a turn, something changed. And do you know what that is? Do you know, is there an incident or a time where it became something different?
I think it was the first time I went on your podcast, and you guys freaked the hell out of me. And I felt like I hadn't really done anything in my life, and I better kick it into gear, which is why it took me 3 years to get on my own podcast with you.
Shaun, mission accomplished.
Yeah, right.
Damn you
Just
both.
Blamed it on us.
Yes.
Right. So something ugly. That's why we're here. Something ugly is going to happen.
No, I can't put my finger on it. I mean, you could point to a lot of things of life's responsibilities growing, but no. It's not. And so I think expectations as drivers and as hopes, the way Chris talked about it, that's where I want to be. And sometimes I'm there. Expectation as a burden. If you don't do these things, no matter what you did get done, you're behind. Bad way to live.
Well, I feel like just like KPIs, there can be a downside to those, because if the world collapses when you miss a KPI, well, what the fuck,
Right.
And expectations are the same way, which is why, a practice of grace for yourself is a super noble effort. Right. And so when you get into, I feel like for me, when I get into really specific expectation setting, there's that danger of like, well, what if I don't pull that off, and am I going to be hard on myself? Which I think goes to that whole thing about Chaucer, right? Like, look, my expectation for me these days is to do my best and try to get better, even if it's incrementally. And I know that sounds incredibly cheesy and self-helpy and everything else, but that's maybe I'm just like living in ignorant bliss, by going with that.
I don't think it sounds that way to me. Getting better and all the time and recognizing those things. I mean, that's pretty lofty, actually. But embedded in what you're saying is that if for whatever reason you're not getting better for a period of time, a day, a week, whatever, that's okay too, because you're doing your best. And I think that's a mindset I think we try to teach to kids, but we don't really. I don't hear adults talk that way very much, and I sure as hell don't hear men talk that way. Like, you know what? I'm doing my best, and this thing will get done or it won't, and tomorrow's another day. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, get it done, get the next thing done, hurry up, right? This is probably going to seem a little far afield, but you guys know I took a vacation to Mexico, and the building that my son and I were staying was, it's kind of like a little maze, and that all of these buildings connected, and I could tell when somebody was walking on a path, if we were going to merge, I wanted to pick up my pace to get ahead of them because the paths were narrow. And if they got ahead of me just because they left earlier, then I'm going to be walking at a slower pace, but behind them until I could find the room to get past them. And I had my son, who's also in New York, looking at me doing the same thing. And I'm like, Ben, you're on vacation. What is your expectation here? You're going to breakfast. Slow the hell down. And I couldn't do it. It bothered me. Oh, it's New Yorkers. But I'm like, no, I want to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about with Shaun, where it's like it's crept into everything.
Right. So you talked about, okay, when I wake up in the morning, it starts the minute I wake up. How, as relates to expectations, how much of it is expectations that you have for yourself versus you're waking up thinking this one has an expectation for me and that one has an expectation for me and this one has is other people when you're thinking about those expectations?
Yeah, I mean, it's both, and it's a great time to segue into expectations of others. I don't think that my expectations of others is at all commensurate with others' expectations of me. If you were to say, like, lay out what you expect other people in your life to do, I'm like, it's a pretty short list of things that the number of people I expect to do things and what I expect of them. Okay. Work is a little different with teams that I have, but they kind of know their expectations. But I'm like, I'm not really counting on people to do things, and and I don't think there's anybody waking up in the morning thinking like, I better get this done, or Ben's going to be disappointed, or I don't, Yeah. And so to your point, when I let off the gas a little bit on myself, I gotta sleep another hour. Can't make it to the gym. I really want to read this article. I'm going to stop for a cup of coffee, even though I had a cup of coffee here. I just want to. When I do those things, I can feel myself taking my foot off the gas for 7 minutes, 10 minutes. And then somebody else will come and put the foot on the gas. Like, are you coming in? Where's the thing this got added? Have you looked at this yet? And so it's almost like it's both. Now, first world problems, got a great job, live in a nice place, all that stuff. But I would, if I could find a way to get to it, I think it's really a mindset. And this is why I wanted to ask you guys this, is that we all, the three of us, control a lot of this. Even the outside expectations, be like, even there, Shaun, you could say, man, I'm working double shifts every day. I'm getting a cup of coffee. I'll get to it when I get to it. And that's just not something that I think very often. I'm like, damn it. I just wanted to sit for a minute and drink this, and the right way to think about it is like, it's a beautiful day in New York. Beautiful day.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I don't know if I know whether or not you have a meditation practice, Ben. Do you?
No, I don't. And I was curious if you guys believe in and start your days with gratitude, or end your days with gratitude, or some version of that. Or meditation.
I don't start my days that, but I don't have I'm not that routinized. And Shaun's heard me talk about this before, but I have my meditation practice is what I call a microdosing meditation practice, which is 5 to 10 minutes of guided meditation, maybe a couple times a day between calls. And it's really, no one does meditation perfectly, and I'm probably as far as anyone from perfect, but it's that attempt to slow down. I remember when I was in business school, and for whatever reason, a song that I had loved for a long time helped me with this practice. I used to walk to classes really fast, and I was like always in a hurry. And the Grateful Dead's had one particular live version of "They Love Each Other," and it's kind of a groovy tune, and it helped me just to do sort of like what ended up being a walking meditation and just slow down and enjoy the moment. And I got okay with that, because I think that's the thing. Like, set aside the expectation that if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late, and just enjoy the moment a little bit, because I don't think there's any shame in that. I think it's noble, even, I would go so far as to say. I don't know, Shaun, have you ever done walking meditation?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have. Yeah.
How is that different than just listening to music? Like, what's the distinction there? If you're taking a walk and just trying to zone out a little bit.
Well, I will tell you that like on Peloton, which is my guided meditation app of choice, you can find walking meditation sessions. Right? Here's 30 minutes of someone sort of leading you through this. And with all meditation, you're trying to get out of your head as much as possible. For me, that particular song just enabled that for me. And lo and behold, suddenly the walk that used to be a race with me thinking about what am I going to do when I get there became a walk. Like I enjoyed the walk, right? Even when it was snowy and shitty in Chicago. So
that's fantastic.
That's the stretch, I guess.
Yeah. And Chris, you're talking about this with to me, a particular lightness. I'm curious, are you able to stay in this headspace even as you begin a new job?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, the other sort of example I'll give you is the Men Living retreat that I went to the first 7 of, and I would share with people that I would go to this retreat, I would come home, and I would literally be a better husband and a better father, and then I would revert. And as the years went by, the reversion to the mean or whatever would take longer. But that's why it's a practice, right? So, but I practice a lot, I guess. I guess I need a lot of practice.
But what would happen if you could distill it for our audience at the Men Living retreat that would put you in a position to be a better husband and father? What's the through line?
I think, Shaun, you probably have thoughts on this too, because you've been to several of those retreats and other retreats as well. But I think it was a combination of the perspective. I think the reversion, when I would come back, would be a result of me comparing my situation to others or me focusing too much on what was not right. And I would go away for this retreat and I'd be like, yeah, of course, everything's not perfect. But at least I'm equipped with a few more tools to work through that stuff, to get better at it. And man, am I talking too much on this episode? Jesus.
No, I know.
I'm loving the answers to it. It's good perspective for me. Shaun, are you able to stay in this kind of put it in perspective mindset every day?
I mean, I've been doing a meditation practice since 2012, and again, I mean, from my perspective, and we talked about this in one of our latest interviews on If You've Come This Far. I've looked at the meditation practice as a practice to live better life. So, and I compare it to wanting to be better at golf. If you want to be better at golf, you got to go hit balls. And so for me, meditation is about, if I want to live a better life, and I'll explain what that means, then meditation is hitting balls, is going to the range. And because it's not about necessarily it's about being in your head, not getting out of your head. It's knowing that as thoughts and issues arise in your head, most of which aren't real, you got to look at it and process it and let it go. And so in life, after you sit there for a half hour and you're like, I was thinking thoughts the whole freaking time. Maybe for 60 seconds that am I actually still? But then when I'm living my life, it's like I begin to think about, because I was a whack job. I mean, I would see a line at all right, maybe still am a whack job, but I would see a line. I would see a line at Starbucks before I even got in line. I'd be like, aggravated. So impatient. I can't deal with this, that I'd leave. And it's like, and so now it's just like I just stand in line and just wait for things to go. And so it's about that process of not being connected to things, trying to understand the energy of something, and just be a little bit more settled. And when something arises that doesn't jive with me, how am I going to process it? So my question for you is, when you're thinking about taking your foot off the gas and you want to go in for that cup of coffee, is it guilt? Do you feel guilt? Like, okay, is it a desire to win? Is it what, if you had to pinpoint it, what is the thing that says, fuck that, no coffee, foot back on the gas. Can you pinpoint what that is?
Well, if I'm being honest, just between the three of us, since nobody's listening, I would say that part of it is the fucking coffee. Like I drink a lot of it, and I can feel the blood vessels restricting. Like, no, right?
Yeah,
because I love coffee, and it's kind of like an old journalistic, habit.
Yeah.
But more seriously, I think it's I don't have time to do this. And so it's a waste of time when the things that you guys are talking about are to lead a better life, to slow down, to practice mental health and meditation practices, and that those actually are not a waste of time. They're a protector of time. They're an improver of time. And look, I've heard versions of this before. It seems pretty straightforward, but I stand by my point. I do not think that men surface these things. I think that the guy who sees the Starbucks line and is pissed off and either leaves or some of them are assholes and they take it out on other people. And it's like, but there's lots of things you could do to set your day up for success. And we just, I think, are socialized to accept this and to quietly let it burn. And it's totally unhealthy. That's why I was focused more on the expectations of me and hearing what you guys are and not others, because I can't really control the expectations of others, only how I react to it. But I can control this part, which is starting the day with more peace and grace and then attacking it how I want to, as opposed to feeling like, man, I'm behind.
Which is great. I do think, though, I mean, again, having done a lot of work with guys and men living over the last 7 years, there's many men who are challenged by the expectations that others put on them. And we may be more dealing with ourselves than the expectations of others, and are fearful to push up against those expectations, and for whatever, for a variety of different reasons. And so I think that can be, as powerful of a negative than what we even do for ourselves, as it relates to those expectations. So just, I think it's a mix.
Oh, I totally think it's a mix
sure.
too. Just to finish off that point, have you found that some of those men, once they identify that as the challenge, have been able to push back on it? They probably, none of them have actually been able to shrink the expectations of others. So that I'm thinking that probably their solution has been in how they respond to it, right?
Absolutely. And sure, some have done great and others not. I mean, again, all of us are so different. And so it's across the spectrum. But so much of this is just saying it, right? It's just saying the words. However it plays out, it could go a variety of different ways, but to even just acknowledge it, just to even say, these expectations are killing me, starts a process for some kind of clarity somewhere, at least hopefully that it does.
Yeah.
And too much of it, I think, whether it's us and our expectations for ourselves, others' expectations of us, we don't talk about it. And that's what I think, that what we're doing right here today is so powerful, because we are talking about it. We're raising it and the importance of it.
Well, one way I benefit is that the two of you have such low expectations of me that I don't feel
it helps. It helps. Yeah.
I don't feel the pressure.
Very low expectations.
I'll tell you
real quick, Ben, let me just say,
you want to elaborate on that?
No. I'm going to change the subject, but I joked earlier about KPIs, and as I think about it, I think the downside to expectations I think that by setting expectations, we end up measuring our performance against them. And that measuring is what's going through our head all the time. And the worst part about that, from my perspective, is that's what disables us from enjoying the moment, right? Like, I've done this before where I'm driving my kid to school and I get pissed off about someone who does something dumb or dangerous in a car, which is legitimate. but it takes me away from appreciating the fact that I've got my 16-year-old sitting right next to me and we're enjoying music or whatever. And so I think that's why this sort of meta expectation that I have for myself of, do your best, and enjoy the moment is not one of those that I'm going to have to measure myself against all the time.
Yeah, no, I truly appreciate this, and we'll be thinking about that mindset and also the meditation examples you guys gave after we're done recording this. This is really interesting and helpful to me. I got to tell you one other quick story about the vacation. So I told you about my impatience with people that had the audacity of walking slow. So I arranged a day trip for us to go to do a couple of really cool things, swimming with sea turtles and going into these millions of year old caves and go diving and get a tour. And long story short, the people that came to pick us up for the tour showed up in one spot and we were waiting in another. And even though I had checked, it was just miscommunication. And the distance between these two places was 25, 30 feet. It was just like sitting kind of like right by the driveway. And then there was down a hill was where the tour bands came. And so I said, we're here. They weren't getting my messages. And then when they got them, they were already on the road. And so they said we could do it tomorrow. And it turned out I could do it the next day. And so they said, we'll just put you in that one. And I was pissed off because all we had to do was walk down that set of stairs and we were in the right place. Anyway, worked out fine. So in my head, I'm frustrated because something didn't go well. I checked and, I wish they would have contacted me, all these things. And then I'm like, you know what? It's vacation. They could have just said, the hell with you, we canceled, you weren't in the right place, but they rescheduled. So it's even. And so I'm walking with my son, Sam, and I said, listen, that didn't go how I wanted to, but it actually worked out at worst neutral. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're doing it one day later. And what difference does it make between Saturday and Sunday on vacation? And he's like, you know what, Daddy? The only thing I'm thinking about is you. And I am happy that you are not beating yourself up that didn't go the way you want. He's like, I'm like, he was looking for, not for me to get angry. I don't get angry, but for me to be frustrated at myself. He's like, I said, you know what, man, we're going to go have a nice breakfast and hang out on the beach here, which we hadn't been able to do at our own resort yet. I said, I think this is kind of a blessing in disguise, which is not a phrase I use a lot with him. And we just had probably the best day of the vacation was that. Oh, and man. At the end of it, towards the afternoon, he's like, out of nowhere, he's like, you know what? I think this was a blessing in disguise. This day worked out exactly how it should have been. So he was he had an expectation of going on this thing, didn't work. Oh, crap. How much is this going to upend the balance of my dad? Oh, he seems to have processed it within 5 minutes. Cool. And now we have this great day, like win, And I took that as it goes back to the expectation thing. I'm like, I was living in the moment. I gave myself some grace. It's not that all the stuff you're talking about. And so sometimes you need a little bit of reinforcement. Like, look how well that day turned out. What if you could just take that and do that every day?
Yeah.
Because you know what? Sometimes there are big problems and sometimes there are little problems.
Really?
Yeah, you should read. I've heard that somewhere. You should read, Ben.
I've heard that somewhere. I envision that there's many conversations that happen between you and Sam that are, big problems, little problems.
Yeah. We do bring it up sometime. It's taken me 3 years to get a plug from you guys, and it's fantastic.
Oh my God! Shaun just spit out his Pellegrino.
Yeah, I think when you were walking around Times Square with like a sandwich board on, selling my book, that was probably funny too. No, Chris, do you guys have any final thoughts on this this weighty but fun topic we've gotten into about great expectations?
I think it's a really good thing to keep in the front of our minds. I don't have anything more to say other than Shaun talked earlier about hitting balls and getting the reps. And I just want to offer Shaun some unsolicited advice: is get off the range. Don't hit some putts, dude. You need to hit some putts.
Yeah, I don't hit balls anymore. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Your game is
Yes.
better than mine. Really great topic, Ben. Yeah, I appreciate this.
No, I appreciate you both, and again, we will intentionally careen between the serious and the light in these podcasts, but always want to keep it on topics that are real, and so we want to thank everybody who's been part of this episode and for joining us on this adventure of Pour It On. If you're enjoying these, and we hope you are, please tell a friend, send us comments, post on our LinkedIn page and otherwise. And remember that you don't have to bottle it in, pour it on. Let's pour it on together. I appreciate you, Shaun. I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you, my friends.
Thanks, boys.
Same, guys. Ben, thank you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Peace and love. Bye.